minutes, what price do you put on your national security? What price do you put on a human life? American people need to know what we're doing. We'll keep their support, win their support, and I think people are going to see a big change in this country. We're going to make America safe again, and I think everybody wants that.
Welcome to No Border, No Country. We got a very special guest today. This is someone we've worked with over the last 4 years, a senior fellow at IRLI, now the incoming border czar for the Trump administration, Tom Homan. Tom, thanks for joining us and congratulations on your assignment there.
Hey, thanks for having me, Brian and Matt. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
So make America secure again.
Yeah. So tell us, Tom, what's your life been like since the election?
It's been crazy. Look, ever since I speak to the RNC, I'm getting numerous death threats. I'm dealing with that. But after President Trump announced bringing me in as border czar, it's been crazy. I had a LinkedIn account. I had to shut that down because I just couldn't handle the incoming. The exciting thing is I got thousands of people, retired ICE, retired Border Patrol, retired police officers, retired Army, that are begging to come and help do this thing. So that's exciting. But I've been busy. I've been out on the trail talking to a lot of media, explaining to them why it's important we do what President Trump has been mandated to do. So I've been, 14 different states in the last 14 days. 14 different cities in the last 14 days. I'm currently in Dallas, but I'm going to keep messaging to the American people because we're not waiting to January 20th to explain to people why we're doing this. We're going to start explaining right now why we're doing it and why it's necessary.
So, Tom, as you and I both know from having worked in the Department of Homeland Security, there's a lot of people within the federal government that are going to resist it. So what's the plan for trying to deal with them and get them on the right page and with the program?
You know, it's really shocking that any elected mayor, elected governor wants to push back on what we're doing because I've been clear, President Trump's been clear, J.D. Vance has been clear, that right out of the gate we won't concentrate on public safety threats. I can't believe there's any elected officials that doesn't want public safety threats removed from their communities. Their number of responsibilities in safety of the community. So, look, I've said it many times, if they don't want to help us, then get out of the way because we're coming to do it. And for the sanctuary cities that don't let us into jails, they're going to keep releasing these public safety threats back in the community to reoffend against the immigrant community mostly. So if I can't send one agent to the jail to arrest a bad guy and they release him, that means I send a whole team out into the community to find this guy because it's officer safety concerns. It's unsafe for the officers, unsafe for the aliens, unsafe for the community. But I want to send a whole team in the neighborhood. And the more they do that, I want to send more and more teams in the neighborhood. So they're going to get the result they certainly don't want is they're going to be a hell of a lot more agents in their communities than they ever imagined because we're going to do this job with or without them. I wish they'd come to the table, let them in the jails. More people in the jail means less people in the neighborhoods. It's simple math. But they want to play a political game. I'm ready to go. Now, I'll say this. They can stand aside and get out of our way and let us do this. And we'll protect the community for them. But if they impede us, if they knowingly harbor or conceal illegal aliens, it's a violation of federal law, and I'll seek prosecution. And we got a strong AG coming in, Pam Bondi, that will support that. So I don't want to go there, but if we have to go there, then we're going to go there.
What's the plan to deal with the immigration judges and asylum officers who would, rubber stamp a potato and grant it benefits? Because they've been a problem for a long time.
And there's actually, I'm actually going to be in a meeting tomorrow to discuss that very subject. So we're going to put an end to that. We'll get back to the statute, the rules, the law, the way they were intended when they're written by Congress and passed by Congress. We're not going to play this Play-Doh game that this administration played. We're going back to rule of law. Asylum. We all know what asylum is. It's giving fear and persecution from your home government, state government, because of race, religion, political affiliation, and participation in a specific social group. We're not going to play this game that this administration does, the domestic violence and gang violence and all this other stuff they added to it. We're getting back to the rule of law, what it currently stands. So we're going to get back to the meaning of the statute that was signed by Congress, and we're going to get rid of people that don't want to play by the rules. For those people that want to rubber stamp thing and not follow the proper procedure, They'll be unemployed. I mean, we're not going to put up with that. We got to get back to the rule of law in this country.
Tom, we've all seen how bad things have gotten over these last 4 years. What has the conversation been like between you and President Trump as far as what is success going to look like? If you look back like 4 years from now, what would that look like to you?
Well, there's three levels of success. Well, there's three rails that I've been given the responsibility over. One is secure the border. We'll get that done relatively in a few months because we know how to do it. We've done it before. But this time we got to go further and finish the job. So secure the border is one rail. The second rail is the deportation operation. The third rail is trying to find 340,000 children that this administration released in the United States that they can't find. So there's three rails to do. So, what's success? Success is removing a large portion of the public safety threats, national security threats, those that are fugitives, those that had their due process at great taxpayer expense were ordered removed by a judge and simply chose not to go. So we're going to look for a large number of removals. That'd be success. Seeing the alien crime in the country, a success. Getting countries, the recalcitrant country, take their people back, a success. Border security, success is ending catch and release. Getting the Remain Mexico program back in place and moving that illegal crossings down to below what we had before, which was a 45-year low. We're going to break a whole new record on that. The children, every child we find and rescue is a success. And I say this with all intention of just letting people know that's going to be a tough job. You and I and Matt, we have a footprint, right? We have a home, we have a car, we have a driver's license, we have a credit report, we got all these things. The footprint helps us find people. Children don't have a footprint. And the more and more I'm hearing from whistleblowers at HHS, a lot of these sponsors weren't fingerprinted, weren't properly vetted. So I'm anxious to see what information they have in these so-called sponsors and see if they have a footprint and how much fraudulent information they provide. But the 300,000 children are going to be difficult, but we're going to give it everything we got and try to find as many as we can. Everyone we find is a save because many of these children are going to be in forced labor. Some of these children are going to be in sex trafficking. Not all of them, but many. We got to get these children back to their families. We can do the immigration consequences after we get them back to their families. Then we'll do the immigration consequences.
So, Tom, you've mentioned that the initial targets are going to be the public safety and national security threats. But for our viewers, can you explain why it's important that nobody who has broken the immigration laws is off of the table and why it's necessary to find people who have simply broken the law and come into the U.S. and deport them as well?
Yeah, I don't want to be misunderstood. Just because we prioritize the worst first doesn't mean anybody's off the table. If you're in the country illegally, you got a problem. It's not okay to enter this country illegally. It's a crime. It's not okay to be in this country illegally. It's not okay to hire an alien and employ him. That's a crime. That's illegal. So, if you're in the country illegally, you got a problem, then we're going to sort of prioritize. But here's what I would say, and you and Matt, we talked about this yesterday. Leave on your own. If you leave on your own, then you don't have all these bars, whether it's a 5-year bar, 10-year bar, 20-year bar. But if we have to go to the time expense of finding you and deporting you formally, there's going to be a bar of you coming back under any legal program. If you have a U.S. citizen kid, we petition for you. You want to come back on a visitor visa, tourist visa. Not going to happen if you have a bar, unless it's approved by the Attorney General, which is not going to happen with the Attorney General. So I want people to leave on their own. But if you're in the country illegally, you need to be looking over your shoulder because you're not supposed to be here, and we will eventually get to you. So no one's off the table, and that's where it has to be. Because look, if we just went through an historic illegal immigration crisis on the southern border, right? We got like 8 million people released in this country, and they've got 2 million gotaways. Here's the issue: you can ask to claim asylum, you can ask to see a judge, you have the right to that legal due process, but at the end of that due process, and the judge orders you removed, you got to go. And because what's our option? Let them stay? Because that judge's order don't mean anything. That judge's order isn't executed, and what the hell are we doing? Just ban the immigration court, because obviously those orders don't mean anything anymore. Take the border patrol off the border, because there's no consequences to entering a country illegally. There'll be no immigration enforcement. So we have to do this as a matter of law. The law requires it. So if we'll give you due process, we'll give you a day in court, but at the end of that due process, we're going to follow the direction of the court and we'll carry it out, because if we don't, there is no due process. Due process don't work. So We have to do this. And if we don't do it, it sends a message to the rest of the world. You can enter this country illegally, which is a crime. You can make a false claim to asylum. You can either show up in court or not show up in court and get an order removal or an order removal in absentia. If we send a message, those orders won't be carried out. You're sending a message to the whole world. It's okay to enter a country illegally. It's okay to get an order removal, and you still don't have to leave. We'll never fix this problem with that. We're a nation of laws. We need to enforce the laws. People don't like it. Congress can change the laws. We're going to enforce the laws as written with no apologies.
Tom, we saw in the interview you did with 60 Minutes, the media seems to focus completely on how these things you're going to be doing are going to affect people trying to get into this country illegally. Could you talk a little bit about how, once some of these things are in effect, life is going to be better in this country for the legal residents and the citizens of this country, and how the country is going to be stronger as a result of it? Because we don't hear that angle.
Well, look, what's happening on the southern border is the biggest national security vulnerability that I've seen in this nation since 9/11. Christopher Wray, who I don't really like, even he agrees with me that the southern border is the biggest national security vulnerability he's ever seen. And he says he sees more red flags right now than he's ever seen. So look, people need to understand. They think, well, I hear this all the time. Tom, they're just coming from a better life. They come and get a job and take care of their families. I get that. But when you cause a crisis that big, it overwhelms the Border Patrol, where 70% of them are off the line. The cartels take advantage of that. They create gaps in the enforcement program, where that's when they move the fentanyl, kill 250,000 Americans. That's when they move the record amount of people on terrorist watch list. That's why we have a 600% increase in sex trafficking. That's why we got 250,000 dead Americans, because the fentanyl flowing across. So, regardless of what you think is innocent illegal immigration, when you cause a crisis big, it overwhelms the system. The Border Patrol, they're taking off the national security mission. All this other bad stuff happens. So, number one, we secure the border. You're going to see overdose deaths decrease. So, right now, fentanyl is the number one killer of people between the ages of 18 and 45. You're going to see sex trafficking decrease. You're going to see wages increase, because right now, illegal immigration employment pushes wage down for the American worker. And look, let me give you one example, because this is important. People need to understand it. So I put a roof in my house several years ago. I had to call 5 different companies before I got a company that would guarantee me a legal workforce. A father and son showed up, U.S. citizens, and he said, well, I'm just coming to see if there's a repair we can do rather than a whole roof, because I can't do a whole roof, but we're hoping maybe we can just do a repair. And I said, no, I need a whole roof replacement. And he shared a story with me that he had a company, he had 20 United States citizen employees, very good company. He couldn't win contracts because these other companies who hired illegal aliens, putting them on a roof for $7 an hour, he was paying U.S. citizens $20 an hour. He couldn't win a bid because all these other companies underbidding him because they had illegal help. So he had to end up laying off 20 U.S. citizen employees because he couldn't win any jobs. And him and his son now just go around doing repairs. That happens every day across this country 1,000 times. So, it's going to help protect the American worker, and it's going to increase wages, and it's going to make the trauma centers and hospitals not overburdened, our social service system's not overburdened, our school system's not overburdened. We see what's happening in places in New York and LA and Chicago. So look, I go right back to it. I can't blame anybody that wants to come to the greatest nation on earth, but you got to do things the legal way. There's millions of people standing in line, taking their test, paying their fees, doing their background investigations, come here the legal way. You can't want to be a part of the greatest country on earth, and the first thing you do is break the law. We can't accept that. So I think that the immigrant crime will go down, overdose deaths will go down, illegal alien crime significantly will go down, because we're going to target people like Trinidad, Agua, MS-13. They're going to be a huge priority. And we've seen what they've done to New York City. We've seen what they've done in Colorado. But we've seen how many innocent little girls, raped and murdered. We're going to do everything we can to put an end to that. And by removing the worst of the worst, you're going to see the result of that.
So we had a lot of fans of the podcast, and we've had a lot of guests on that work for CBP and ICE. And I know these guys have been miserable under the Biden administration. So can you tell us something about how are things going to change for all the dedicated employees at ICE, CBP, USCIS, so on and so forth?
Look, they're excited. I've talked to hundreds of them. They actually going to get to do the job. they signed up for. They're actually going to be able to uphold their oath. They're going to be federal law enforcement officers again, rather than tourist agents and Uber drivers. I go to board just about once a month, either Arizona or Texas, and I've talked to board places for the last 4 years, and the morale was non-existent. Last week was the first time I've been to the border since the election. I went down to the Texas border with Governor Abbott. We fed the troopers and fed the National Guard who were working down there in Eagle Pass and other parts of the border. And I never seen so many smiling faces in my life, because they realize rescue's coming. Not me, the administration, and letting them do their job. And it's the first time I saw smiles and high morale in my lifetime. I was actually pleased to read yesterday. Chief patrol agent, he's sticking his head out there. I love the guy, but he did an interview with Fox yesterday. He's excited about my appointment, excited about the Trump administration letting him go back to work. I'm sure he's going to get in trouble over that, but that shows the man's got character and integrity to say that, knowing that your head may be on a chopping block. So the men and women of the Border Patrol are excited. I know the men and women of ICE are excited. I talked to many of them. And they're going to get to do the job they signed up for. So some of the finest American patriots in this country are the ones who wear that uniform, do that job. So I'm happy that we'll get to a place where they can do their job and help protect this country from not only alien crime, but from national security threats.
Tom, you're very familiar with the work we do here at IRLI, having been a senior fellow here since 2020. In what ways can IRLI help with the work you're going to be trying to do and that the American public clearly wants done?
Well, the reason I even joined up IRLI is because important work IRLI does. You guys first the Trump administration, you supported the administration and all the number of lawsuits. It wasn't so much a political thing. You guys weren't picking political cards. You know what the immigration law says. You know what the statute says. You defend that. So look, we know damn well this administration will be sued right and left. I saw numerous papers from ACLU. They're already planning massive lawsuits, massive disruptions. So IRLI is going to be front and center on defending government's actions on this. Not because you're picking political sides, because you don't want to see the immigration law flushed down the toilet. So I'm looking forward to have a close relationship with IRLI, just because we both believe in the enforcement of the laws. We both believe that the laws on the books need to be enforced. And again, if people don't like that, then Congress needs to change the law. But we're going to enforce the laws as written. So you guys are going to be busy, writing your briefs and front of the court briefs to help defend what the administration is doing. So I think regardless, I have to leave early because for the ethics rules, I can't have outside employment. But I think we'll be working more closely together then than we do now.
So, Tom, when you did your interview with 60 Minutes, it was kind of shocking. The woman that was interviewing you instantly went to, well, this is going to be expensive to enforce the immigration laws, but it's got to be cheaper to enforce the immigration laws than what it's costing us to keep all of these people here at taxpayer expense. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, absolutely. It's going to be expensive to do this operation, granted, but it's a one-time cost. What they're doing now by flying illegal aliens all over the world, all over the country, putting them in hotel rooms at $500 a night, giving them free medical care, giving them three meals a day, all this stuff. For now, we spent billions of dollars. NGOs have made billions and billions of dollars, and this is in perpetuity, right? This doesn't end. If this administration would have stayed in power, this is in perpetuity. And even though President Trump's in it, there's still millions of illegal aliens in this country who have asylum claims that it's going to cost this country a lot of money. So in the long run, spending a large pot of money up front to do this operation is going to save the American taxpayers in the long run, because it's not going to be in perpetuity. So, and plus, like I told 60 Minutes, what price do you put on your national security? What price do you put on a human life? Because we've seen the violent crime. We saw the young girls, raped and murdered. I've met hundreds of angel moms and dads who buried their children because they were killed by someone that's illegal in the United States. What price do you put on that? So give me a price. And, of course, I said that in the interview. Of course, I cut that all out. Give me a price. What, you got a child. We were talking before the interview. You got a child. What price you put on the child? Because that's happening. So there is no price. President Trump is ready. So there's no price tag on this. It has to be done. So regardless of the cost, it has to be done. It's going to be done.
All right, Tom. Well, we're going to let you go. I know you're incredibly busy. You got a lot going on right now. Anything you want to leave us with as far as what the public needs to know about the work that's going to be starting for real next month?
Only this. The facts are this is going to be a well-planned, targeted enforcement operation. You're not going to see Army Jeeps running through the neighborhoods looking for people different from them. This will be a well-targeted enforcement operation. We know exactly who we're looking for, most likely where we'd find them. So it's not, I don't use the term sweeps ever. And it's going to be as humane as we can make it. I mean, once you get put in detention, ICE has the highest detention standards in the industry. We're not building concentration camps. I read that the other day. How dare they compare ICE to the Nazis, for God's sake? So we're going to do the right thing, and people, I think, will be. And one thing I'll guarantee you, we're going to be transparent. I want to show them exactly what we're doing, who we're arresting. So I don't want to lose the faith of the American people. American people need to know what we're doing. I think once they see what we're doing and we're very transparent of who we're arresting, they'll support us. Regardless of the controversy, immigration enforcement has always been controversial, always been emotional. But I think if we're transparent and show these people we're doing this in a well-planned way, we'll keep their support, win their support, and I think people are going to see a big change in this country. We're going to make America safe again, and I think everybody wants that.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, Tom, you know the pushback is only going to get more intense, but I hope you just remember that there's millions and millions of people out there that are completely on board with what you're doing. So,
yeah, I'm not running a popularity contest, so they get mad at me as well. I don't give a shit.
All right. Stay strong, and thanks for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thanks, Tom.
See you guys later.
So that was pretty awesome. I'm always impressed when I talk to Tom. I've been doing this for 30 years, and I learn something every time that I talk to him about immigration. And I think the point you brought up about him having support in the American public is 100% true. I was home in Boston with my family over Thanksgiving. A lot of people in my family and my parents' friend group are veterans and former police officers and firefighters, and every single one of them said, geez, this Thanksgiving, we're going to say a prayer for Tom Homan because here's a guy who tells it like it is and is going to fix the situation where our country is just being overrun. And I think, there's a lot of regular Americans who are watching this stuff on the news and seeing what the mayor of Boston and the governor of Massachusetts and New York City and Chicago have done with regard to this. And they're going, what kind of craziness is this? We're giving $500 a night hotel rooms to foreign nationals who we haven't vetted, and we don't even know if they're criminals or terrorists.
Yeah, I asked him that at the end, or said that to him at the end, just to let people know that, because I don't think most people understand the propaganda campaign that the corporate media is planning to derail this effort. They're going to make Tom look like evil incarnate. They're going to try to make it look like he's just the cruelest man in the world, and that just flies in the face of the reality, because during his time with us as senior fellow, I had the opportunity to travel with him several times through airports and such, and every single time we've been out in public like that, he gets rock star treatment. Mm-hmm. There's 50-year-old men, there's 20-year-old women, there's grandmothers coming up to him. Please keep it up. Thank you for speaking for us. Keep up the fight. Don't let them get you down. That sort of thing. So there's a huge groundswell of support for him and for this task that President Trump has given him. So I just hope people don't get discouraged when they hear this complete disinformation that's going to start coming out about the work they're doing.
Well, and the other thing I think people should know about Tom, because I've had an opportunity to get to know him pretty well working with him as well, is he genuinely is concerned about the well-being of the aliens. And he's generally concerned about people from foreign countries coming here and being able to live the American dream and not be exploited. I mean, when he talks about being called while he was at ICE to go investigate the death of a number of migrants who were being smuggled into the United States in a 18-wheeler and were left to die by the smugglers, and how he was affected by the 5-year-old boy that he found there, it'll bring a tear to your eye. And so I think one of the things that the the mainstream media and the chattering classes don't get about this is it's not cruel to enforce the immigration laws. It's actually better for migrants to enforce the immigration laws so that there aren't people hanging out in the shadows exploiting them. And I think Tom's very aware of that.
Exactly. I mean, to think about this, when you have what we have right now and what we've had the last 4 years, this wide open border, this lawlessness down there and in the interior, what does that create for these women and children that we're told are coming up here because they're so disadvantaged? They're going into this horrible treatment by these cartels. They're getting sent to places where they're working these crazy hours. They're being exploited horribly. Some of them are being mistreated in far worse ways. So isn't it better that they stay on that side of the border and have some kind of process versus going in the hands of the most despicable people, these cartel members who have no respect for their lives whatsoever?
Well, it's 10,000% better. And if you stop and think about it, it's not just the cartel members. I mean, if you stop and look at this animal that murdered Lake and Riley, I'm sure he's not making a distinction between U.S. citizens and migrants. He's just a predator who's going to attack and hurt anyone who he has the inclination to hurt. So it's, I don't know. I think it goes back to the broken windows policing and Giuliani and Bratton in New York City. And it's, if you tolerate violations of the law, it just leads to more violations of the law.
Yeah. I've never seen a situation now in presidential cycles where there's been more anticipation of an incoming administration because there's such an appetite in this country for that work that Tom's talking about to get done, because we've seen the opposite of it for so long now.
Well, and I don't think, the mainstream corporate media would have everyone believe that this is evidence of jingoism and xenophobia. I don't think it's that at all. I think people like Donald Trump and they like Tom Homan because Americans love America, and not just for themselves, for what it stands for in the world. And so I think people are excited about this work because they don't like seeing the rule of law trampled, and they don't like seeing people essentially stomping on the flag and poisoning the worldwide image of what America stands for.
And it's so predictable. I mean, we've seen it so many times, the anti-borders lobby, the tactics they use, their go-to line is, oh, you just don't like people that don't look like you. When the reality is people in this country, legal residents and citizens of all colors, we want order in our country. We want safe communities. That doesn't have a color. We just want we want a safe country. And we shouldn't feel shamed for wanting that.
Amen. When I was working for ICE as a trial attorney and when I was an immigration judge, I deported people from Ireland, Sweden, all over Western Europe. And I didn't care what they looked like. My concern was that they were foreign nationals who didn't have a right to be here and had broken the law to remain here. And that was the only concern. And, the more time you spend around most of the people that work at ICE and CBP and USCIS and the Department of State, for that matter, I think people look at it the same way. And they see their job not as excluding people, but as protecting Americans, because that's what they took an oath to do.
Right. So I think one of our duties going forward is to tell that side of the story, that the good work that they're doing, because there's going to be an avalanche of spin and manipulation to try to convince you that the work they're doing is somehow bad. And we need to push back on that here, too.
But I think as this goes forward, you're going to see that what Tom has been saying all along is right, that there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in the shadows involving the exploitation of women and children and all kinds of crimes and terrorism and scary stuff that the media hasn't wanted to talk about, but it's been there the whole time. So this is going to be interesting.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the podcast. If you'd like to learn more about the Immigration Reform Law Institute, go to IRLI.org. If you found this information useful and you'd like to support the show, go to IRLI.org/podcast. You can also hear this show on Apple Podcasts, Rumble, and Spotify. And don't forget to check us out on all the major social media platforms. Thanks again.